Assalamu alaikum and beautiful morning everyone. Welcome back to your English class. Hope you are all doing well. We are in block 11, the olive tree. In that our topic of today's class is identifying resolution in a story. Our aim for today's class is to identify the resolution or conflict in a story by answering questions. Our agenda includes reading, then we'll have activity on that, and then I'll discuss some questions. After that, I'll give you to write. Resources required for today's class are content book page number 64, a notebook, and then pencil. Keywords of our today's class: salvaged, strewn, resolution. Salvaged is nothing but rescuing. Rescue means save, fine. Save from losses or rescue from loss. Okay, that is known as salvaged. Then is strewn. Strewn means scattering in an untidy way, fine. Or you can say spread untidily. That is your strewn. And then at last, resolution. Resolution is nothing but resolve, fine. Solution you can say. Fine. Let's move towards our activity of today's class. Before we start activity, your work is to read the whole story, the olive tree, fine. You have to read everything whatever given in your story for your own understanding, and then I want you all to do your activity part. After reading activity is this. I'll ask you questions. I just want you to answer me for this by sending a voice note. Before the storm, whom did Samir think the olive tree should belong to? Your answer should be clear to me through WhatsApp. I want you all to send your answer on my WhatsApp number. Fine. Whom did Samir think the olive tree should belong to? Whom did Nada think the olive tree should belong to? This is before the storm. Fine. Remember, you have to tell the answer for this before the storm. Okay. Next. At the end of the story, what did Samir do with the pieces of wood collected? At the end of the story, they did something with the pieces of wood, right? I want you to give answer for that. This. What did Samir do with the pieces of wood collected? What did Nada do with the pieces of wood she collected? Okay. Then I want you to answer me for these questions related after the storm. Okay. After the storm, whom did Samir think the olive tree should belong to? Then, whom did Nada think the olive tree should belong to? Answer me for all these questions through voice note. Then I can start my class. Pause your video here and answer me for this after reading your lesson. Fine? So, now let me tell you, before the storm, Samir think the olive tree should belong to him. Okay? He think the olive tree should belong to him. And before the storm, Nada thinks the olive tree should belong to him. Okay? Next. Samir thinks the olive tree should belong to him, and also Nada thinks that olive tree should belong to her. Fine. Nada thinks the olive tree should belong to her. At the end of the story, what did Samir do with the pieces of wood collected? What did Samir do with the pieces of wood collected, children? Samir kept the pile of wood pieces on the Nada's door. Okay, he kept it on Nada's door. On What did Nada do with the pieces of wood she collected? Nada kept the pile of wood and fruits on Samir's door. Okay. At the end of the story, this is what happened. Fine. She kept on Samir's door. Okay, now tell me, after the storm, whom did Samir think the olive tree should belong to? After the storm, Samir thought that the olive tree should belong to Nada. Okay. After the storm, whom did Nada think the olive tree should belong to? Nada thought that the olive tree should belong to Samir after the storm. Fine. Samir thought that the olive tree should belong to Nada, and Nada thought the olive tree should belong to Samir after the storm. Fine. Now let's move toward our discussion time. Do you think the conflict is resolved? How do you know? Fine, I'll tell you. Samir and Nada collected wood for each other. Fine, they collect wood for each other, isn't it? After the storm, they did that, right? At the end of the story, they collected wood for each other. Nada collects olives for Samir too. Samir and Nada, and they also collected olives for each other. Fine. This shows that Samir and Nada are ready to share the olive tree and the conflict has been resolved. This is what the resolution of the story. Fine. This is called a resolution in a story. First they were having conflict that the trees belong to them, isn't it? Themselves. Samir was telling that the tree belongs to him, and Nada was telling that the tree belongs to her. And at the end of the story, what happened? After the storm, what happened? Samir thought the tree belongs to Nada, and Nada thought that the tree belongs to Samir. And at the end of story, what they decided to do? Samir decided to keep the pile of wood he collected at the door of Nada's, and Nada decided to keep the pile of wood she collected at the door of Samir. They did this. Okay, they even shared their olives with each other. This is the resolution in a story. First they were having conflict and they resolved by understanding it. That's known as resolution in a story. In the beginning, what happened? Samir told that the olive tree belongs to him and his family. Nada told that the olive tree belongs to her and her family. Okay, at the end, what happened? Resolution. Like Samir said, we can share the wood of the olive tree, and Nada also said that we can share the wood and fruits of the olive tree. This is what the topic of our today's class. We have identified resolution in our story. Now hope you have understood. Question number 5 from your lesson 2 is the homework. Do it and submit that to me on my number. Thank you. Jazakumullah khaira. Have a good day.